Hello everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome back to some more Storybook Brawl. This time around we'll be talking about Slay compositions. Slay is an ability on your characters which says if it attacks and kills one of your opponent's characters, then it gets the bonus of its whatever it says the Slay bonus says it does. Some of these are permanent buffs, sometimes they're just buffs for that one particular brawl, but all in all, Slay is a little bit tricky to get triggered and jump through the hoops, but they're often powerful effects, like usually permanent buffs. With the exception at this point in time, I think Yorgman's the only one that gives a non-permanent buff for Slay. So the signpost hero for Slay is Sad Dracula. This guy, or this hero, automatically gives a Slay ability to anything that you put on your front line, so you don't have to jump through any hoops or choose any specific characters to get Slay and get those up and running, because you just choose a character, put it on your front line, and it gains a Slay ability. And then this can be used most often with the character Shadow Assassin, which gains a permanent +1/+1 every time you trigger a Slay ability. So you can have, 4 characters on your front line, all of which have the possibility to trigger your Shadow Assassin each time they attack. So that can get pretty out of hand and is generally what you think of when you're thinking of Slay compositions. But in my honest opinion, Trophy Hunter is definitely by far the most powerful Slay hero out there, because he can turn last breaths into slays. Now you do kind of have to find some of these powerful last breaths to get rocking with the Trophy Hunter, but once you do, you can be quite powerful indeed. Now the one thing about Slay compositions in general, aside from the Sad Dracula thing, where you can pick just generally good units across the board and you're not putting all of your eggs into one basket, usually a good Slay composition does ask that of you to make, have one unit on your board with a Slay ability, and then use other characters like Grimsoul to trigger it multiple times in one brawl, and then also using the Baba Yaga character to double, triple, etc. get extra, even more triggers every time you get a Slay on it. So it becomes the analogy to the glass cannon thing, whereas it can be very, very powerful, but also pretty easy to disrupt, because you only need to kind of, grief one character on the board with a Pegamorph or a Disintegrate sometimes will work. And, things like Poison Rotten Apple Tree or Medusa, if you manage to roll the dice correctly, hit that roll, then the whole composition completely falls to pieces. Trophy Hunter can kind of hedge that a little bit, because you can have multiple last breaths. So having a friendly spirit or a good boy along with a monster book or another friendly spirit, obviously, these can give you a little bit more diversity on your front line, so that if one of them happens to get killed or griefed with one of those spells, then you still have something else to trigger with all these Grimsouls and Baba Yagas that you have going on your board. So some of the popular Slay compositions, aside from the just generally good units with Sad Dracula along with Shadow Assassin and growing that linearly through the game, basically once you get to the end game, you can have things like Yorgmund with Grimsouls and Baba Yagas and Echo Woods to make a very strong board. If you have an upgraded Yorgmund, you're getting +40/+40, and you can also apply that to your Echo Woods every time you trigger your Slays, and multiple times when you're using Baba Yaga, so things can get out of hand pretty quickly there. Also with Sir Lancelot, which gives you permanent buffs. You kind of got to get started on that one early, so if you run into like an early Lancelot, and you can get him started pretty a little bit quicker on in the if you've accelerated ahead with adventurers or an XP, or you happen to roll into it with a True Love's Kiss, all the better, right? So you can get that started early. It can become quite dominant towards the end game. But with Trophy Hunter, you do have quite a few different options because of the last breaths turning into slays for you as well. And that gets really out of hand with the Grimsoul, because if the Grimsoul happens to kill something and die at the same time, you're triggering your slays twice with just that one unit, and then multiplied by the Baba Yagas you've got supporting your slay character, etc. So it can be quite hilarious indeed, and we'll see at the end of this game some of the disgusting levels which can be brought about having just one simple friendly spirit there. So we kind of got to wait until we get there, but it's coming along. It's we're building up here. We're increasing things. We're just looking to get more Grimsouls. Obviously, we've got to get our friendly spirit tripled up so it can get even more buffs going out there. And now that we've found a Baba Yaga, we can start doubling up on each of those procs every time we do it. And then in this game, it's the first time I've ever gotten the Echo Woods involved in this shenanigans as well. And yeah, it really did get extremely out of hand by the end of it all here. So one of the biggest drawbacks with these slay compositions, sorry, as I was saying there, my throat got a little bit dry, so I had to pause for a little drink break. So yeah, one of the drawbacks, as I mentioned before, is that they are pretty easy to disrupt. And kind of in this game here, I probably passed by the monster books. Would I probably should have picked them up, but I was also thinking of just getting some good boys when I got into the later stages. But kind of at this point here, we see somebody with the monster book out there already, which kind of made it a little bit moot to try to go down that line because, somebody's already taking good boys out of the pool, and there's only 10 to start. And if somebody gets a knighthood, that takes 2 more out of it automatically. So, but that would be a much better end game. I've already got some nice permanent buffs on my friendly spirit already too, so it's getting pretty big bonuses to all of my characters, especially if it hits itself on the on one of the triggers, right? So if my Grimsoul attacks and gets a slay and dies at the same time, if the friendly spirit hits itself with one of the buffs, then it just gets truly out of hand on where all the bonuses are going around your team altogether. And similarly, I think I was saying before with the monster book, it's not so good right now as a minion if you're just triggering it once or twice if you've got the upgraded version. But if you've got like 8 or 12 triggers between the Baba Yagas and the Grimsouls and all of that, on average, you're definitely going to be hitting enough good spells that it becomes very decent, right? You can decimate, most of your opponent's board with just one attack, right? And have your opponent out there just dying. I did, at one point in this game, we did pick up a Shadow Assassin. We started growing it pretty nicely throughout, but eventually did drop him once we got the Echo Woods rock, and it did get kind of taken out with the fireball there that time. But that's the ins and outs of playing with with some of these glass cannon units, where they kind of can get taken out pretty easily. Feeling pretty confident here that if one of my friendly spirit buffs lands on Hercules, we can trigger his ability in one shot, which is pretty nice, especially now that we've got the Baba Yaga all tripled up. And then here I do three powerful 5-cost treasures in that shop, but I choose the Staff of the Old Toad because I am looking just for Grim Souls and Baba Yagas at this point. So I'm not really interested in anything else. Oh, and more Echo Woods, because you can see here our friendly spirit hit itself, and then our Echo Woods grown to some truly insane proportions with all of the extra triggers we've got from those Baba Yagas going on. So pretty much builds up these really, really good board, which, you know, is pretty much unbeatable unless of course we get our friendly spirit killed right off the hop. So at this point we're just kind of cruising along, grabbing all of the things that we can find, and we managed to triple up on our Echo Wood, which is really good. We got the Singing Sword, which did some good work, and then even though we got our Hercules, you know, with one hit it can trigger, I'd still prefer to have the 2 Echo Woods out on the field because of all of the absolutely disgusting things that it's going to be going on here with all of these triggers that we got going on. So I think we got 6 digits on our Echo Woods each, you know, power and toughness. And I think it was so demoralizing to our opponent that he doesn't even let us get to the final battle because he throws in the towel even before we get to the final fight. So, you know, if he had found one Pegamorph, you know, maybe that could change the context of the whole fight. Or if he attacks into my friendly spirit and kills it first, that can change everything as well. But, you know, he chose not to and just throw in the towel, and that's, you know, maybe we shouldn't do that, but at the end of the day, it's can be pretty frustrating to see that kind of stuff going on the other side of the field. I just kind of want to switch gears just for a quick second here and go over this little example here. So I'm going to slow this one down to just regular speed because it's just a minute-long video, minute and a half. So this is why you should never ever put all of your eggs into one basket. So we're starting up a game here. It's just going pretty normal, and I come across, you know, a situation where we can kind of like, you know, hedge our bets and get started on the right track with the with getting our questing princess getting done. So we've got the princess, and we've got the 0 cost spell, and we've got the good unit to go along with it. And I'm thinking here, you know, there's a chance that, you know, if I put out the unicorn there, that we might tie the first fight, or we might lose outright to something. But maybe I want that unicorn on my team permanently, and I'll just keep this Shard of the Ice Queen to transform the egg instead, because, you know, there's not much chance that on the very first turn that the egg is going to get killed. Now, obvious foreshadowing here, there's actually quite a few situations in which this falls apart very quickly. Like, you know, if our opponent happens to pick up a tiny, and, you know, you kind of got to consider also our opponent's character as well. If a Krampus gets a Labyrinth Minotaur, that's got 6 power as well, and we'll be able to squash our egg in one chance. Not paying attention here, I see that our opponent is Madcatter, and he happened to hit the stone cold nuts against Humpty Dumpty, and the fact that he got the bread roll, and the bread roll buff landed on a rainbow unicorn. So the unicorn survives the first go and and attacks back into our egg to kill it, and now we're left without a good unit to transform to get the buff on the princess, as well as a buffed up evil unit on board as well. And the look on my face just says it all there. That's kind of why I left this in the smaller thing, just so you can see the sadness that ensues after something like that. So don't pick Humpty Dumpty. There are certain situations where it's okay, and then, you know, if you're really not losing a lot, like say you shrink ray and Humpty Dumpty happens to be one of the one costs, and you just kind of slot it in for a turn or two, and then you can even sell it back for the same amount that you got it for if it doesn't get squashed. But even if it does get squashed, it kind of only cost you one gold, and you're kind of, you know, you didn't lose any tempo for that. But the tempo loss at this point was so huge, I think I just quit the game even before I got to the round 2 fight here. So yeah, don't pick Humpty Dumpty. That's it. I appreciate you all for checking out the video. If you have any questions, post them down in the comments down below, and we will see you in the next one.